So I also added our happily committed family on YouTube as well. So now it's kind of a combination. Let's see. Mauritius is in the Indian Ocean near Madagascar, Paradise Island. Thanks for your videos. It helps immensely. Oh my God, that's amazing. I have actually never heard of that. So now I'm going to look that up. Let's see. Florida, where exactly? Miami area. Brazil, hello. Marianne, how are you? Jennifer from Arkansas, hello. All right, so we have 30 minutes here, guys. So as I had mentioned before, if this is your first time to a live, usually the way that I conduct my lives is I try to do 4 a month, and usually 2 of them are just specific topics, right? Subjects, things that people have asked me in my DMs, through YouTube comments, via email, about questions that they want to answer, right? And if I see a common pattern, if I see a lot of questions that are being asked, I usually will create a live around that particular subject or topic. But I wanted to change things up a little bit because I kind of wanted to be a little bit more interactive with you guys. So it's not so much just kind of me talking about the subject matter in and of itself. Usually I would reserve like the last 5 or 10 minutes of each live for any questions that you guys may have, but I figured it probably would be mutually beneficial to kind of just connect with you guys and you guys ask any questions that you want. So now the way that I will conduct my lives moving forward is I will do 2 lives a month that are specific subject matter and then 2 lives a month that are just question and answer. So it looks like today, it really actually depends on the day and time of the week and all of that stuff. Usually we get a much larger crowd, but today we seem to have a little bit more of an intimate crowd, which is totally fine with me. Maybe I can get through a lot more of your questions. So we are going to, excuse me, guys, start on the questions. So if you guys have a question, please make sure you put it in the comment box. The one thing that I do ask you is try to keep it as consolidated and brief as possible. I know that if you feel like this is your only opportunity to really get your question answered, you're probably going to want to put a lot of information in there. But the more consolidated and the more concise, the better, because the more I can kind of get through the questions. And I will do my best to answer based on the information that you give me. Now, I want to preface this with saying one-on-one coaching sessions are so beneficial and incredibly important because in those sessions, basically, I reserve a certain amount of time of really getting to know your situation. So understanding the particulars, the details, what happened, and it gives me a better idea as to how to approach the situation and give you a better recommendation and create a tailored strategy for your situation. So it is possible that some of the answers may be a little bit more generalized or a little bit more vague because I don't fully know your situation completely. So if you feel like you did not fully get the answer that you wanted or you expected, or you feel like you just need a little bit more support or help, I always highly recommend a one-on-one coaching session, guys. You know, I'm not saying this just to sell myself or whatever the case may be, because that's not who I am. You know, I am the type of individual who gets fulfillment out of helping other people based on my own personal experiences and the experience that I have with all the clients that I've worked with. And I'm not here to sell you a package or a coaching session or whatever the case may be. What I'm here to do is to tell you that booking a one-on-one coaching session can change your mindset and your perspective. It can change everything. It can change the trajectory of your current situation, your life. It can open up your mind, and that's what I specialize in, right? So gaining new perspective, communication, conflict resolution, those are all things that I work with clients on a daily basis. So that being said, towards the end of the live, I will give you guys all the information for booking a one-on-one coaching session. I highly recommend it. And, you know, I just think it's something that would be very helpful for you guys. All right, so let's see. Baby doll, I want my ex back, but he keeps saying hurtful things to me. What do I do? So this is one of those situations where I would tell you to kind of take a step back and evaluate the situation and consider that it may be a toxic situation, right? So if you are trying to be in a relationship with somebody, it should be mutually beneficial. There should be respect present in the relationship. There should be an investment of energy and wanting to try to make the relationship work. And if he is coming from a place of just wanting to say hurtful things, maybe knock your ego down a little bit or break down some of your self-confidence, it's something that I would really reconsider. It is possible that he is coming from a place of pain. It's possible that he may be hurt about, you know, whatever happened within the relationship. He may be confused, and that's just how he copes and manages with his emotions. Everybody processes things differently. Everybody reacts differently to particular core emotions. But at the end of the day, that reaction will have an effect on you in the short term and in the long term. And in order for a relationship to actually work, in order for you to be able to reconcile the relationship, both individuals have to come to the table, put everything out on the table, and take accountability for their part in order to really move forward in the situation. So if he is not at that place and he's only coming from a place of anger or frustration and resentment or whatever the case may be, then the timing may not be right. So my recommendation at this point would be to take a step back. Go into a no contact period, at least for 30 days, and see what comes of it. If he continues to reach out to you and he continues to say hurtful things, I would really consider taking further steps, setting really hard boundaries, because again, at the end of the day, a relationship should be a support. It should be something that you feel fulfillment out of. It should be something that your needs and your expectations are being met. And right now, it doesn't sound like he has the capability of doing that. And because of that, you have to take control of the situation yourself. Let's see. Calvin McPherson, first time. Can a relationship work after your ex was with another man during her drug addiction? That is a really layered situation, my man. There's multiple different elements here, right? So we're not only talking about the dynamics of a relationship. We're not talking about the dynamics of a rebound. We're also talking about the dynamics of drug use, right? And addiction, which is a heavy subject. It's a heavy topic. And it really has to do with how that person views themselves, their own personal identity, what they feel their role is in the world, how they view themselves in the world. Do they love themselves? Do they, have a good understanding of themselves? And if they don't, usually that kind of leads to certain things like addiction or volatile behavior or disconnecting emotionally and all these different things, right? So your question of asking whether a relationship can work again if she was with another individual during her drug addiction, we have to look at two things here. The first thing that we have to take a look at is the drug addiction itself. Is she, is your partner no longer using drugs, right? Have they gone through rehabilitation? Are they on the other side of this? Have they unpacked their traumas and the emotional issues that they may have had that would have initially led to the addiction, right? That's the first thing, because it's very important for two people when they come into a relationship to know themselves, to have a strong sense of self-identity, to have a strong sense of your core values and your morals and all of those types of things. Because if you do not, then it's very possible you may get lost in the relationship again. And if that drug use was also a part of your relationship and it's stuff that you had to deal with, the second part of this is, have you processed the situation? Have you processed the experience for yourself? Because if you have not, and you are trying to get back into a relationship with this person, it's very possible that you may be triggered again. It's very possible that she may be triggered again. Now, if she has gone through rehabilitation and she's on the other side of things, and that relationship was during the period in which she was going through her addiction, then I don't see why it would not be a possibility for the relationship to work. But you guys would have to really sit down and set very clear expectations and guidelines and boundaries as to how you guys are going to move forward. You also have to process, well, I hate to say you have to, right? Because all of these are just recommendations and suggestions, but I would suggest that you sit down with yourself and really process whether you have gone through the emotions. If you have allowed yourself to really release whatever pain, anger, frustration, resentment you may have had during that period of time, because that's going to be really important in moving forward in this situation. I hope that answered your question. Again, this is actually a very layered situation, and this is one of those particular situations that I would 100% recommend a one-on-one coaching session, because I feel like I would need more details in order to really give you a thorough answer. Let's see. Katrina, why does why do exes still want to be friends? Okay, so this is actually a multi-answer question. But what I have come to find, right, is that it is, let's say, one of two things, right? So the first one is because there is a sense of guilt about ending the relationship, right? So if they are the ones that ended the relationship, they may be feeling guilty about that. They may be feeling like they didn't stick it out long enough to see if the relationship was going to work, but they knew they were unhappy, they knew they were unsatisfied, and they felt like the only option at that point was to step away from the relationship. And because of that, viewing the pain that you are going through and seeing your reaction to that can result in them feeling bad about the situation. And therefore, they want to kind of try to reconcile as much as they can. They want to try to rectify as much as the wrongs that they feel they may have committed in order to feel good about the decision that they made. It's almost like self-validation and knowing that because you guys are still friends, then the decision was not the wrong decision. The other part of this is there may still be an interest, right? There may still be a connection and a love and attraction that is there, but they just know that where they are at in their life at this moment, they cannot handle the responsibility of a relationship. And that's where things can get really confusing, right? Because when you transition from a romantic relationship into a platonic relationship, oftentimes the same patterns of behavior that you had within the relationship will transfer into the new dynamic. And that's where things get sticky, because that's how you're used to interacting with one another. That's how you're used to connecting with one another. And there will be an attempt on either side to really sever that or to really create some boundaries. But every once in a while, that boundary will be crossed, or that kind of way of being around each other will fall back into old comfortable patterns of behavior. And again, that's where things start to get sticky. So again, just to kind of answer the question more directly instead of going the roundabout way, is one, there's probably a level of guilt that's present because of the decision that they made, or two, there are still feelings there, but they just know that they can't handle the responsibility of a relationship right now. And you guys truly were good friends and they don't want to lose you as a friend. There is the third option, which comes from more of an insecure, controlling place where they just kind of want to keep tabs on you and make sure that you're not, going out and having a good time and meeting new people and all these types of things. Because as much as they may not want to be in the relationship, they also still have this feeling of, well, you are mine, right? We were in a relationship. There's still this connection between the two of us. So I don't want you being with other people, but I just don't want to be with you right now, which can get kind of toxic. So I would say those are the three primary reasons why an ex would want to be friends. Let's take a look. I'm going to go and, sorry guys, I'm just scrolling through the comment box. So if I haven't gotten to your question yet, it's because I'm trying to get through as much of this as possible. Is it a bad sign if my ex affair reaches out every time to me and is picking a fight after saying, don't ever talk to me again? I used to be needy. Now he continues to reach out to me. Is it a bad sign if my ex affair reaches out every time to me and is picking a fight after saying, don't talk to me again? So I'm not 100% clear on this question. It's Laura Balboa. So if you can kind of specify for me a little bit more, that would be helpful. I'm not sure if you're saying an ex, or if you mean an ex, or if you mean an ex affair partner. So if you can just clarify that for me, that would be great. Daniel Velez, I want to get back with my ex, but I broke no contact because she said it was okay to talk to her and I shouldn't overthink it. But then I said too much to her in terms of wanting and looking for change. Okay, so this is actually a very common thing, right? So Daniel, you're not alone. Let me be clear on that. This is something that people experience quite often in these types of situations. Going into a no contact period isn't always just about trying to make your ex jealous or make them realize that you've moved on or that you're working on yourself or whatever the case may be, right? A lot of it also has to do with just understanding where you are at in regards to your emotional bandwidth and your mental bandwidth. And it takes time. Space and time is necessary in order for you to really kind of settle back into yourself, to really kind of reground yourself and feel like you have your footing again. And The reason why I say no contact periods are so incredibly important is because they're also a period of self-reflection. They're a period of introspection, and they're a period of really kind of sitting with yourself in front of that mirror and looking at your situation and saying, how much of the situation am I accountable for? Where am I at emotionally right now? Can I handle a dynamic with my ex right now? Could I handle a friendship? Can I handle trying to get back into a relationship? Or am I still in a state of insecurity where I know that if I tried to do that right now, I probably would mess it up? So allowing yourself that time in that space is really important. Even if your ex comes to you and says to you, hey, it's okay for you to talk to me. I'm totally okay with it. It's fine. That's a great sign, because it means that there isn't any severe animosity or anger or resentment between the two of you. But I always recommend setting a very clear boundary and saying, hey, look, I appreciate that. I would love that opportunity, but right now I can't. I need to kind of take some time for myself. But if you're okay with it, I will reach out to you when I feel like I am ready to do that. That's also okay to do that. People are always so afraid of setting that boundary because we're afraid that our ex is going to move on and forget about us and all those types of things. And it's all valid. I understand why you would feel that way, but keep this in mind. You're thinking about the situation the wrong way, right? It's not so much about whether your ex is going to find somebody else and move on, because if that's where your thought process is, that means that you are coming from a insecure place. That means that you were coming from a place of negative emotion. And it's not going to be possible to get your ex back if you are coming from that place, right? Because it's very possible you will end up getting needy and clingy and overly expressing what it is that you want because you did not take enough time to really kind of settle into yourself, really take in the situation and accept what has happened and get to a place of emotional neutrality to be able to win that person back, right? Kind of getting your mojo back. So I hope that answers your question, my man. At this point, I would say take a step back. That's okay. If you've overly communicated, then just kind of pull back on the communication and let things just kind of settle down a little bit. Katrina, why does my ex want to be friends after ending things 5 months ago? How do I know? So I think I answered this question about exes, and I think it was from you, Katrina. So I would refer back to what I was saying. VP, my ex and I broke up 9 months ago after a 13-year relationship. He's dating somebody else. Okay, first of all, I'm so sorry. I completely empathize with you. I know how difficult that can be. I'm not exactly sure if that is a question or if that's more so of a statement. But again, I empathize. I know that that's a really difficult situation to be in. So Muscan, love is unconditional and pure. Love is unconditional and pure when significant others don't know about their past. But when partners get to know about each other's past mistakes, they start judging each other and become insecure. So, I do agree with you to a certain extent. Knowing your partner's past can affect the way in which you perceive them if you did not know much about their past to begin with. However, the process of really getting to know somebody and dating somebody is understanding who they are, understanding their history, and accepting the fact that whatever history that person may have, those experiences have contributed to who they are today, which is the person that you are now attracted to. So it's all encompassing. And really where it comes from is your own personal mindset, the mindset of the two of you. Are you secure individuals, right? Or are you insecure? Do you have issues with self-identity? Do you have self-esteem issues? Do you have self-confidence issues? And if that is the case, then of course, hearing about your partner's past is going to affect how you view them in the present. But everybody has a past. Everybody has a history. And if we based our current relationships on every single person's past, nobody would be together, right? Because it would be too much for us to process and for us to take in. It's really about how that person shows up in the relationship now, in the present. Have they made significant changes from who they were in the past? Have they used those past experiences as learning lessons to not do that in the present or future relationships? So again, I agree with you in regards to the concept and theoretically what you're saying, but when it comes to the context of dating and being in a relationship, it's necessary to accept all aspects of your partner if you plan on having a healthy relationship. Now, if there are things about your partner's past that you do not like and you do not accept and it makes you feel really uncomfortable, that's all things that you should learn in the dating phase. And at that point, make a decision whether you want to move forward or not. Daniel, long story. We have been able to talk since that time, and now I was on a dating site and to see if she was on there, and she was, and it hurt so much. What should I do? So Daniel, at this point, like I said, I would pull back. I would disconnect. It's very possible that she has allowed herself to get to a place where she has decided she wants to move on from the situation. So there's almost a level of indifference here where she's okay with you speaking to her and talking to her because she views you maybe as a friend at this point or something more platonic. And basically you're just torturing yourself, my dude. So downloading Tinder and Hinge and Bumble and all these things to specifically see if your ex is on there means that you are emotionally not ready or capable to handle moving on or trying to reconcile the relationship. So again, my recommendation is to take a step back, try to disconnect from that stuff, get rid of the Hinge, the Bumble, all that stuff, mute her stories on Instagram if you guys are still friends on Instagram, so you're not tempted to take a look at her profile. Like whatever it is that you can possibly do to try to disconnect as much as possible is what I'm recommending for you, my man, because you need to spend some time with yourself. Dana, dated a wonderful man, felt something missing, so I broke up and he won't let me go. Very hard because he treats me like gold. A year plus has gone by. Dana, that's a really difficult situation, especially when that individual treats you well. But knowing yourself is really important. And if you feel like there was something missing in the relationship that you just are not getting, and it's something that is a priority for you in the relationship in order for you to remain in the relationship, then it's possible that you might just have to really take some time to yourself and process the situation, try to really figure out at the core what it is that was missing from the relationship. And if you are not willing to accept that missing in the dynamic, then having a very clear conversation with that person and letting them know that there really isn't anything that you visualize in regards to the relationship moving forward. Because if not, you will forever remain in this kind of state of limbo, and that's a really hard place to be. Let's see. My ex broke up with me, Mirna. My ex broke up with me 3 months ago. He recently started reaching out to me again. We've seen each other and it's really great, but then he goes quiet for days and I'm not sure what he wants. So slow and steady wins the race, Mirna, when it comes to this situation, right? I think a common misconception here is that when you go into a no contact period or you haven't spoken to your ex for an extended period of time and then they come back and they start to talk to you again, that it's going to be off to the races again, right? Like you're going to jump right back into something. The truth is you're kind of rebuilding a dynamic. So it is to be expected that there will be periods of silence. There will be periods in which he is not reaching out or he is not texting you or calling you or whatever the case may be. And that's because you are transitioning from being in a relationship to not speaking for an extended period of time to speaking again, right? So it's going to go like this for a certain amount of time until things level out. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on the situation. I wouldn't question too much. I wouldn't ask why he's disappearing for 2 or 3 days at a time. I know how difficult that can be, but at the end of the day, the more pressure you put on the situation, the more likely he is to back off. And if your goal is to try to reattract him and to bring him back in, then the less questions, the better. Keep doing you, keep living your life. The routines and the patterns that you had established for yourself in the 3 months that you were not speaking, continue to do those things. I know it's easier said than done, but allow him to kind of come back into the situation organically. Now, if you start to notice that the periods of not speaking are getting longer and longer and longer, it might be beneficial for you to really take a step back and just go into a radio silence. Just don't contact him until he contacts you. Again, that can feel like a never-ending cycle if that continues to happen. And at that point, then you have to make a decision. Do you want to continue down this road or do you not want to continue down this road? And that may require calling out the elephant in the room at that point, right? Later on down the line, once you've really understood what the dynamic is and once you've really come to realize that, okay, this is a pattern of behavior that I'm noticing over a period of time. And then maybe having a conversation saying, hey, what is this dynamic, right? But that's for later. At this period, at this point, at this juncture, I would just leave it be. Let's see. A lot of question, guys, here, and we have about 5 minutes left. Actually, we have 2 minutes left to the live. So I'm going to get to one more question. And then again, like I said, guys, I have another live next week, another question and answer forum. So if you feel like you didn't get your question answered, you can go to the forum next week as well, or you can book a one-on-one coaching session, which I will put in I'll put the information in the box down below. So let's see. After a long period, so this is from Marianne. After a long period of no contact, we talked for a few weeks. It wasn't a continuous conversation, but it was all so lighthearted, but now it stopped. Should I give it time or should I start some chats? So if everything seemed to be going great and everything was lighthearted and everything seemed to, be casual and fun and not super pressure filled, that's a horrible word, guys. I'm sorry, that literally just came out. But I don't see anything wrong with engaging, right? So as long as it's reciprocal. So if there's been a period of time now that you guys have not spoken, it's okay to re-engage. It's okay to strike up conversation. It's okay to try to reconnect and see where it goes. For a lot of people, it's like an ego thing, like, well, okay, well, I haven't heard from him. He hasn't spoken to me, so I'm just not going to reach out. But it's a two-way street, right? So contributing to the dynamic of reconnecting is very important. So my recommendation to you, Marianne, is sure, reach out. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, don't make it too intense. Don't make it too heavy. Don't ask him where he's been. Just really kind of start a casual conversation and try to keep the casual conversation going as much as you possibly can. Again, guys, we are at the 30-minute mark. That is all the time that I actually have right now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in the chat box the link to the coaching sessions. Give me 1 sec, guys. Again, we are live, so I should probably better prepare this when it comes to having the link handy. Sorry about that. Copy. All right, so I am putting it in the chat box, guys. So if you want to book a one-on-one coaching session, please make sure you are booking your session right here. I'm going to put this in the chat box a couple of times. Marianne, you are so welcome. And what I'm also going to do for you guys is I'm going to give you my email. So if you are wanting to book a one-on-one coaching session, you're not 100% sure if coaching is for you, I'd be more than happy to kind of walk you through what the process is like and let you know what kind of what I try to accomplish within one-on-one coaching sessions. Copy. Okay. So that is my email, guys. So feel free to shoot me an email. I may not respond right away, but I usually respond within 24 to 48 hours, depending on my volume of clients and emails and all the stuff that I am receiving. So just bear with me. One thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, if you do not know who Coach Abby is, she is one of the incredible coaches that we have here on the team. She works specifically on With My Ex Again. Maybe some of you guys have worked with her. Maybe you have not worked with her in the past. If you are subscribed to our website, if you're subscribed to our YouTube, then you should be getting our newsletters and our emails and all of those things. Abby will be running a promotional discounted coaching this month. So if you are not subscribed, subscribe. That way you get the emails. That way you get the newsletters. You can subscribe by logging on the website. It's withmyexagain.com and going to the subscription at the very bottom of the page. I can't remember if it's on the bottom or the top, but you'll find it on the page. And on YouTube, obviously, if you subscribe to YouTube, we put announcements on there and all of those things. So if you don't want to miss a discounted coaching session with Coach Abby, who I highly recommend, she's absolutely incredible, I would be on the lookout for that. And again, if you want to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, again, like I mentioned before, my specialty is helping people to change mindset, communication, and conflict resolution, obviously, and reattraction as well. Then I would be happy to work with you and support you. Maybe you get a little bit of taste of how I do my coaching sessions. Of course, this is kind of like quick fire, so it's not as in-depth as I usually get with clients. And any clients that have worked with me before, if you're in the live, obviously, I would hope that you can attest to the coaching sessions. But that being said, it was great to be here with all of you guys again. Thank you so much for asking your questions. And I will see you guys on the next live next week. Talk to you guys soon.